What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back for another theory crafting video. And today, instead of the usual archetype or class theory crafting videos that I've been putting out, this one I wanted to focus on world bosses, or ways that I think world bosses could be done. Not necessarily the specifics of the creature or the exact mechanics of how a world boss should fight or be conquered by the group. Thoughts on how to make it a little more interactive. And it really stems from a conversation we had in a Discord server of a fellow content creator, as well as on their community curated website called Ashes HQ. Go check it out. They've got forums and things like that. It's a fun website. I usually jump on the forums and talk in the roleplay section. So the world boss theory crafting that I want to talk about is how could Intrepid potentially create world bosses, battles, fights that pull in more than just the player base that's focused on PvE or even PvP. So really the combat focused players. Now, while that will probably be, let's be real, 70, 80, 90% of the player base, there is going to be a large amount, I would say more than most other MMOs, of players dedicated to crafting. So the artisan classes, as they're called in Ashes of Creation. Simply because the multitude of systems and the depth and the layering of all of the systems together that's going to create this dynamic evolving economy and world, which is what Intrepid's aiming for, right? I think now you're going to have a larger section of people who, while they do the combat and play the game itself, interact more on the creation and the production side of everything. And my question is, or my thought process really, is how would we be able to pull those guys and gals into a world boss? So I had a couple ideas. I'm going to shoot them out and just think about them. Comment below. It's not going to be a long video. I just wanted to get my thoughts out on this. And one of them is, we had talked about it in the Discord. We had kind of theory crafted. What if there was a giant mountain golem? Let's just say giant world boss level mountain golem. Everybody's fighting this thing. However, if you can get people with a high enough mining skill up on him or in him if he's got tunnels, however it would be easier to design, and they actually had to mine rare ore off of him. You could go deeper and say that only when he spawns every so often, or blah, 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 everything, the stars align, you can get this rare ore off of him. But anyway, you have to have the miners go up, and they have to get inside him or on him, and they have to mine this specific ore in order to bring down his power level. Perhaps the more ore that's mined, he loses armor, or he loses max health. So essentially, you have your basic PvP, PvE group of guys who are out there, guys and gals out there attacking. And then you have to find the good miners to get up and spend a majority of the battle just doing what they're good at, mining. And getting the rocks off, getting the minerals out. And while they're doing that, they're actually decreasing the difficulty level, maybe slightly, not immensely. But the more miners you have going and the more people attacking, you work in tandem with each other in order to make the world boss easier for the whole, right? And then to bring them down, and then so they're going to get the loot. However, your miners are going to get loot by helping, and they're going to get this rare ore that they can then do what they need to do with, craft in the artisan system, things like that. That's an idea. Another one was a giant world boss out in the ocean. So then how do we fight this world boss? Maybe there's an event for a couple days leading up to this epic sea monster migrating, or this epic sea monster coming out of the deep. And you have to create a ship in a city near the world monster, right? And it takes your carpenters, your loggers, it takes your shipwrights, your shipbuilders, maybe even your siege weapon guys. They work nonstop to get to certain thresholds of creating this NPC ship. Now, you've only got X amount of time, let's say 2 days real world time, right, to build a ship. And depending to what level it gets to, it depends on its health, its damage, its attachments, its ability to affect the boss. And the higher level you get it, when the world boss spawns and everybody's out here doing this big naval world boss fight, this epic NPC ship shows up. And the more debuffs, status effects, damage it does, the longer it lasts, is all depending on how well all the artisan classes did leading up to it. So all these artisan classes lead up to it for 2 days. People are on Discord servers, everybody's working together, trying to get the best NPC ship they can in order to give them a chance to actually defeat this world boss. They're all working together, then it launches, and now you turn it over to everybody who's got better Mariner classes or just better combat and DPS in general. And your crafters can either go with you, obviously, or they can be like, whew, I did my part. I'm going to go back to doing what I'm doing. And then they can still they're still getting like skill levels and skill points due to the fact that they built the ship. Maybe they get, depending on how well the ship does, there are, loot or things such as loot that they get for being a part of it. Then you go and, just ways to interact with multiple segments of the player population. Other ideas I had, I don't know if tailoring or clothes making is going to be a big part of it or not, but, there could be a big boss in a snowy tundra and everybody takes a really bad cold debuff or cold damage, unless there's like a quote-unquote call to arms for your tailors, where they need to make specific gear lined with fur or fur lining or cloaks or what have you, and then it's going to take group effort of those who can skin and hunt the monsters that we need in bulk, then bring them to be processed, and then take the process to be created into the fur gear, the fur liners, in order to allow your PvPers and PvEers to go out in the world and fight this, I don't know, legendary ancient yeti of the mountains or something fucking wild like that, right? So, taking a world boss and not just letting him be a giant tank and spank with a couple mechanics, but turning a world boss into a server-wide event, more so than they are now in most games. Usually when a world boss spawns, it's like, hey, giant troll dude spawns in 3 minutes at this location. Okay, everybody fly in. Okay, he's here, and everybody go crazy. Dodge this, dodge that, heal your buddy. All right, good job. Did you get the drop? Nope. All right, see you see you in a day. I don't know, it just loses its allure. It loses its allure to me as a world boss. It loses the luster of, holy shit, the world boss spawned. And I would like them to matter again. I would like them to be a large event. I would like them to be something that you're hanging out with your friends and your buddies text you and they're like, dude, shit went down. Mountain golem spawning. Looks like, or the Leviathan is coming out of the deep. Saturday at blah, blah, blah on the server. That means starting today, we got 2 days. You're a shipbuilder. Jump in there. Or, something like that. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, when I get free time, I'm going to jump on there and do this. It makes me want to jump on and do the thing, right? So I would love for them to be turned into a bigger event than just everybody show up and do whatever the fuck you can. And then there could be world events that are the equivalent of bosses, like giant military wars. Maybe a bad military from the void comes through a portal, and then you need to actually go to war. You get conscripted for the war, and then your siege makers and your blacksmiths and things like that are like, oh, it's my time to shine, and now doing this will give you a chance to pull in different segments. Yes, I know there'll be PvPers and PvEers who have, have the artisan class as well. However, they're more dedicated, they're splitting their time, their effort. While you'll have the people who go 90-10 crafting to PvEing, PvPing, progressing battle-wise, you want to kind of pull those people in. I understand they're a small segment, and maybe it's not as big a deal as I think. However, I think creating this cohesion and this pull to pull these people into different segments of the game, if there's pulling your crafters into big giant PvE battles, pulling your PvEers to come want to support your crafters, because man, if I log, all right, I'm actually going to take a break and I'm going to go log the really good wood, and I'm going to spend all my time out there, because if I can get it to my crafter, they'll be able to get that ship, and then when I go to fight the Leviathan, I got a better chance of killing it and a better chance of getting what I want out of it. Trying to pull people in directions where they're not comfortable, just a little bit, not a lot, to interact with different segments. Now you've got your PvPers and your PvEers interacting more with their crafters, and the crafters with these guys and gals, and kind of just pulling people in different segments of the game so they get to experience the game they want, and then every once in a while they get to experience something completely different than their normal, and it's fun, and I think it would be really neat to share a victory across multiple segments of your player base, opposed to just your PvEers, oh, we took them down, go us, and you got your crafters that are like, oh, good job, guys, them being able to have supported them in a large way, or even be on the field doing something like the mining of the mountain monsters, or things like that, I feel like could really create a community and really create a really cool, cohesive, server-wide experience when it comes to a world boss or a world event. Just a quick question for you guys down in the comments is, when it comes to scaling a boss or an event up to kind of the server-wide world boss level, what did you think would be a good way to do it? Do you have a preference? Have you played way more than I have, most likely? Would you rather them just level them up with more complicated mechanics? Would you rather them level up just flat, okay, health, armor, damage, put it up through the roof, and now you need 500 people to fight it? I know that's dramatic, but You know, it's something like that. Or would you just like it to be overall more difficult? So a little bit of everything. Or do you like the idea I said, making it more of an event with the miners and the shipbuilding beforehand, or the making of all the equipment that they need to just survive the harsh environment where this world boss is? Like, is there a preference? Do you care? Do you not care at all? You could care less if world bosses matter? The reason I bring it up is because it seems that Intrepid is really pushing for this everything matters, everything is significant in a world that is supposed to be dynamic. And if the world bosses become more of events and can pull different segments all together, I feel like they will achieve this better than anybody else. Now, are there any games that did world bosses the way that you like? Let me know. How would you choose to scale a monster into the world boss level or the world event level? Something at the level that would bring a majority of the server together cohesively in order to achieve victory. You know, have you experienced this? If so, let me know about it, because I have. I don't know if I have. You know, how would you incorporate all of the different aspects from games you've played into a successful world boss system? How frequent do you think world bosses should come up? I would love for them to come up once a month, maybe once every other month. Once a month is probably good. I don't want every other. I don't want too long, but like once a month would be great. I think it would be a large ass event then. People might taking a break for a couple days because, you know, they've been playing like crazy, and then they're like, the world boss is up tomorrow. Okay, let me make my plans. You know, things like that. Like, that could be really neat. Should it just be spurred on by events? Should it be controlled by Intrepid when they spawn? I doubt that. It will most likely be spurred on by events. And then the server's like, we spawned it. It'll be live at 11 a.m. on a Tuesday. You know, and then everybody's at work and fuck it, the server doesn't get to fight the world boss. He's gone. So, you know, maybe that needs to be controlled to an extent. You know, just let me know your thoughts down below. Interact. I'll comment back. I would love to have a conversation. And then if we have a really cool conversation, I'll take it to some of the people in the community that have podcasts, and maybe they'll shed light on it, or who the fuck knows? There's some great podcasts, great content creators around Ashes of Creation. I love the community around Ashes of Creation. That's why I have jumped in. And I really appreciate everybody who's watched the video. Like, subscribe, and for the love of all that is holy in the world of Vera, comment down below. Have a good day.